Do not be afraid. I am the cure.
Emily barges into the room. With one swift movement, she kicks the door, banging it shut, the loud sound reverberating through her room. And for a moment, she's mesmerized by it. She liked it, the way she felt after kicking the door shut, the way she channeled her anger into strength. She stared at the door, her breathing heavy, her fists clenched. Silence had fallen upon her once again, mocking her, reminding her that the sound of the door being shut was the most reaction to her emotions she had gotten in so long. The silence wrapped around her, like a hand that lay against her throat, tightening its grip every second, beckoning her to make a sound, to break the silence, to do something, anything. Finally, she let out a choked sob, realizing there was nothing she could do anyway. No amount of screaming, door banging, or even tantrum throwing would get her any sort of reactions. There was no one to listen to her at all. She was completely alone. She was an adult now, but that didn't mean she didn't need anyone. It had been a year since her parents died. She had no relative to go to, no friends to reach out to, no way to get a reaction. She was alone. Her parents left her a lot of money, but money couldn't speak, or cry, or hug, or laugh. Her thoughts seemed to weigh her down, pulling her down, beckoning her to fall, to lose, and to give up. But she held on for so long, and she could keep going at it. Couldn't she? Wouldn't she? She threw herself at the bed, letting herself fall into the soft bedding. Maybe that would do it. Maybe the softness of the blankets would be kind to her wounds. Maybe they would substitute for a warm embrace. Who was she kidding? It only reminded her that all she had for comfort was her soft bedding. Nothing more. Not a shoulder to cry on, not a hand to hold, but instead soft cloth stitched together to give the illusion of comfort. She cried a little more. Her tears fell, squeezed out by her most painful thoughts, collected by her eyes, rolled down over her cheeks, and stolen away by the bedding, until there was no trace that she had cried at all. Unless, of course, she'd cry again, but until then she was a porcelain doll without a scratch. After all, her real scars were hidden away by her full-sleeve shirts and her turtleneck sweaters. Shh. Don't tell anyone. The knife is under the mattress. The only escape right under the soft bedding. I watch her as her tears drain out, making her pass out. I smile to myself, knowing it's the only way through her dreams that I can talk to her. I walk forward, entering her dreams, where I find her sitting in her backyard. We can see her parents through the window of her house. They're celebrating. I know she wishes to go to them, but she can't. Not even in her dream. I walk to her and sit down beside her. She doesn't turn my way, but she knows I'm there. She has always known. After all, I've been there for her since she was little. Dry your eyes, sweetheart, I say, and let my thumb tenderly brush her cheek, whipping away the tears. She looks at me now, eyes red from crying. Tell me, how are you always so happy? She asks, and I smile at her. You know the answer, Emily. You've known since the day you first asked me, I say, and she sighs. Yeah, but I don't know if I have the strength to put it all behind me. But, sweetheart, there really is no other way out. You have to cross over, leave everything in the past, and start afresh, I say, taking her hand in mine. But what if it's too hard? She asks, and I smile, knowing that after all this, while she's at least considering it. Well, it is. But isn't life always? Life is always challenging, pushing us to our limits. But we must show life that we know the way out, and that we have the courage to take the steps required, I say, and she rests her head on my shoulders. My parents look so happy, she says, and I look at her. She's so beautiful, so intelligent. It's a pity to see her this way. Who am I kidding? I can help her. I can make her better. Come on, I say, getting up and stretching my hand out for her to take. She hesitates, but takes it anyway. She gets up and looks at me. What are you doing? She asks, and I smile wide but don't answer. Instead, I guide her forward, leading her towards her house. The moment she realized, she began to protest, but I guide her forward anyway. We enter the house. What are you doing? She demands, but she's spoken too loud. Her parents look to her. For once, they stopped celebrating and realized that their baby was in tears. Emily, is that you, sweetheart? Oh, we've missed you so much, she says, and Emily turns rigid next to me. What are you doing? She says again, the question directed towards me. I'm helping you face the truth, I say, but before I know it, Emily had already rushed forward, unable to resist falling into her mother's arms. I'm helping you accept the truth, I say to Emily after lovingly placing my hand over her head. I'm helping you realize that your parents loved you, and they know you are strong. You know what to do, Emily. You just need to realize you also have the courage to do it, I say as she kisses both her parents on their cheeks. I miss you so much, she says, sobbing. Emily, you're so strong. You know you have the strength to get better. What's holding you back? I say, watching as she turns to me and smiles. You're right. I know what I should do. To just let go of the past and start working to get better now. I have to take my life into my own hands. I know what needs to be done now. I know what my parents would want. They'd want their little girl to be brave, she says, and I smile proudly. Her parents look down upon her, their faces full of pride. The family embraces one last time before the dream fades, and I reoccupy my place in the corner. Emily jerks awake, her eyes wide and alert. She heaves her body off the bed and sits up, her hands rubbing away the drowsiness from her eyes. She smiles to herself as the dream resurfaces. "I know what to do now," she says, and gets off. She takes a shower and gets ready, styling her hair intricately and even bothering to dust her face with minimal makeup. She smiles, realizing it's the best she's looked in so long. She takes her spot on the bed, smiling at how good she feels. "You can get better," I whisper to her, and she nods. She reaches for the bedside table and picks it up. She smiles, realizing that everything will get better now. She closes her eyes and remembers how happy her family was. She smiles as the cool metal presses against her wrist. She smiles as she feels her skin tear apart, layer by layer, cell by cell. She smiles at the feeling of the liquid that floods down her hand and pools in her lap. "That's my girl," I say, and she chuckles. She places it down and lays down on the bed, relishing the burning pain that erupts from her hands. But it doesn't bother her anymore. She knows this is the last time she'll ever feel it. She's going to a better place. She's going to get better. She's going to be happy. She doesn't fight the pain. Instead, she lets it drown her, like the feeling of the sea on a summer day. She lowers herself into the blissful void. "I'm coming, Mom and Dad. Your baby girl is coming," she says. Her heart beats one last time. I smile, knowing that my job is done. I walk over to her, let my fingers tenderly close her lifeless eyes. I smile knowingly that now she is dead, and she's finally free of the pain that she went through. I feel proud. Emily Mercedes is finally dead, and she had the courage she needed too. Oh, how rude of me. I never introduced myself. Pardon me, for I have no real name. Many people call me by different things, but I think the most apt name is that of a demon. It's got a nice ring to it, don't you think? Yes, I'm the demon that lives inside you. And if you've read so far, I believe you're strong just as Emily is. Maybe I can help you too. What do you say?